How is the world's longest running motoring event, the London to Brighton Veteran Car Run, significant to women behind the wheel?
We think we have nearly half of all the veteran cars that exist in the world. It is absolutely incredible.
And how did the run's early participants help pave the way for women in cars?
As a lady, I would have been allowed in England to drive this car. I didn't get the vote until 1918.
And the women who drove veteran motoring through the 20th century.
I think that she was a bit of a trailblazer. She wasn't just going to drive an easy little car. She wanted to drive a really difficult car, the sort of car that a man would really love to drive.
And the generations of women flying the flag for veteran motoring today.
Look at that! Yes, yes.
They're behind the wheel of some of the oldest cars in existence.
We've got 4 generations that have gone down on the Brighton Run. And how exciting is that? And they're all women.
Cara Tunnicliffe has been taking part in the run since she was a child. Veteran cars have been in her family for decades, and she's now the driving force behind a 60-year veteran car run tradition, which has always seen women behind the wheel. It spans 4 generations, with Sarah's children all learning to drive at their family home, and her grandchildren waiting in the wings.
It certainly is in the blood, and I think that they feel very much part of it, and that helps to make you feel part of a special movement. You feel privileged to be able to do something like this, and I think and I hope that they feel that too. So there weren't many lady drivers, were there, when Grugor started driving?
I don't think I could think of almost anyone.
No.
Sarah's daughters, Caroline and Biba, are proud members of this female veteran car run driving dynasty. It was a tradition which started with Sarah's mother Ruth, known affectionately as Grugor. As the first and only lady president of the Veteran Car Club, Ruth was a driving force in the veteran motoring movement. She and her husband Brian took part in their first Brighton run in 1964. Not satisfied with being a passenger, Ruth, seen here in the 70s, quickly took the wheel. She became an icon of the run at a time when it was a mainly male pursuit.
I think that she was a bit of a trailblazer, and my father was very, very encouraging, which was wonderful. I mean, you could imagine some men not wanting their wives or partners to muscle in on the driving, because the driving is the best bit, it really is. And when you see shots of people driving veteran cars, inevitably it's the man driving and the lady sitting beside looking pretty.
Ruth drove a notoriously challenging 1892 Panhard Elevator known by the family as the Little Panhard, complete with iron tyres and a tiller.
It was a very hard car to drive. She wasn't just going to drive an easy little car. She wanted to drive a really difficult car. And I have to say that also applies to me. I like being able to drive the large Panhard, the big Panhard, because it's a difficult car to drive, and it's the sort of car that a man would really love to drive. Run to me means carrying on what my parents started, and it also means a really fun day out if all the cars get there.
But with all the cars on the run made before 1905, getting there isn't easy. The annual 100-kilometre journey to Brighton takes the cars through inner-city London, past the capital's most impressive landmarks, where they're faced with busy 21st century traffic. They then head out into the twists, turns and hills of the English countryside, before ending in the bustling seaside city of Brighton. Without the features we take for granted in modern cars, it's a challenging drive. Sarah's 1902 Panhard is known as the powerhouse of the family's 3 veteran cars. But with 16 horsepower, hills can be tricky. Even more so for the 1902 Darracq with 9 horsepower, and the 1903 De Dion with 6. Despite the limited horsepower, the Panhard can get up to a very contemporary 80 kilometres an hour. Quite a speed without modern safety features, though there is a fire extinguisher for emergencies.
The main thing is the brakes. There are no ABS brakes. The second thing is no power steering. So manoeuvring the car is quite hard work, and you have to always be looking ahead and thinking, observing, so that you have plenty of room to stop. You know, if I had to suddenly stop, this person here would probably shoot out.
But even with experts like Sarah at the wheel, these old motors often have a few tricks up their sleeves on run day, as family friend Adrian, a veteran car run regular, knows well.
They do indeed have personalities. The Darracq can be quite testing for us at times. It always has been ever since we've had it, and we've enjoyed lots of difficulties at times with it, whereas the Dion is automatic in its gears and is a pleasure to drive. And the Panhard is brilliant because it just goes and goes and goes. I mean, they were founded on racing cars, so they really do go very well indeed. But we just don't know. I mean, they are all those, 120 years old, anything could happen.
At 7 o'clock, the cars will be off.
As the sun rises on the day of the run, London's transported back to the dawn of motoring. The start line, a symphony of the sounds and smells of some of the oldest cars in existence.
There's over 400 cars here, all of them built before 1905. So we think we have nearly half of all the veteran cars that exist in the world are on the run every year. It is absolutely incredible.
It's the women of the run who are proudly front and centre as it celebrates the 120th anniversary of the birth of the UK's Ladies Automobile Club, and the pioneering women who embraced the motoring revolution at a time when landmark steps towards female equality were still years away.
Our car is 1902. What's really exciting is in 1902, as a lady, I would have been allowed in England to drive this car. I didn't get the vote until 1918. So I've been driving as a lady for longer than I've been allowed to vote.
Starting with their first event in 1904, the club helped galvanise women's motoring in England, challenging those who saw it as a traditionally male pursuit.
You think back to 1904, the ladies were taking a very great interest in the motor car, in the technical development and also the social possibilities of the motor car. Of course, in that era, ladies weren't always encouraged to join in, so they went and formed their own club. And it proved very successful. Up until the First World War, the club became huge. Many thousands of members joined the Ladies Automobile Club, which is extraordinary when you think how early that is in the history of the car.
I'm talking to ladies today because it's Ladies' Day today.
The club was an important milestone in the history of female veteran motoring, paving the way for the growing number who drive the run today.
What's very interesting is we see the percentage of women in the younger participants is much higher. It increases every year. And that's a very positive sign for the future.
Nearby, Sarah and family are getting ready to join the dozens of women behind the wheel. But there's trouble already, with the Panhard's journey looking over before it's even started.
Steady.
Its engines being uncharacteristically stubborn. But with another go at the hand starter and a tickle of the accelerator, they're back in business.
Really exciting! Yeah, very exciting! Yeah, there's somebody in the car making that exciting noise. Are we all going to make it?
Yeah! Back at the start line, it's the women naturally leading the way. The launch of the run signalled with a ceremonial tearing of flags. And with that, the first cars are off. While it may not be a race, speed is at the heart of this run. At least for those who make it off the start line. It's a more promising start for Sarah, Biba and Caroline, as one by one they once again join the ranks of veteran car run women. With the children warmly bundled in the back, the adventure begins. It's a spectacular backdrop through London as the cars and some braided penny farthings pass through the city's most famous landmarks, living history on 21st century streets. run celebrates a dramatic gear change in UK automobile history, which shaped modern motoring as we know it. In 1896, new legislation raised the speed limit from 6.4 to a lightning 22.5 kilometres per hour, and abolished the need for a man to walk ahead waving a red flag. To celebrate, early motorists drove from London to Brighton, sparking the more than a century-long tradition enjoyed to this day. And while men may still outnumber women, dozens are now driving the run, with Sarah, Biba and Caroline looking strong as they breeze through the city. Safely out of London, Caroline and the de Dion and Sarah and the Panhard pull over for a well-earned break.
We were here first. You were here second. Oh, yeah, we were here first.
As they tick down the kilometres to Brighton, it's time for the cars and the drivers to rest and recuperate after a smooth first leg.
She's doing amazingly. I don't want to jinx it, but she's doing really well.
The car doesn't sound quite as perfect as I would like it to, but it's running very well, it's pulling away well, and really, as long as it's running well, it doesn't matter.
But as the other cars sputter to a stop, one is missing. And concerns growing for Biba and the tricky Darracq. Despite the challenges, the magic of veteran motoring's not lost on Sarah's grandchildren.
It's really fun. Like, I normally wave to everyone there.
With Biba's daughter Cara, the latest in the female line to embrace this world.
Some of these cars just like go on show in museums, but to know these still work and they're like 100 years old is really cool.
As the cars have their final checks for the off, the Darracq finally makes an appearance. Some battery trouble almost ended its journey, and now even parking's proving tricky. But after some tinkering,
I'm pretty sure my husband wanted me to hold the spark, which would have given me a massive electric shock.
it appears to have been resolved.
There was a slight concern as we stopped thinking, oh no, this one's going to let the side down again. But at the moment, everything crossed, we should be okay.
With a bit of old-fashioned elbow grease, they're all back on the road.
Okay, so we're now on the motorway.
As the miles fade away, the busy roads turn to country.
I think this is our top speed. Whizzing along at 25 miles an hour. Do you like going fast or slow? Fast!
Picturesque villages pave the way to England's south coast, with hundreds lining the route to take in the spectacle of a bygone era. More than happy to put on a show is this 130 horsepower 1902 Fiat, making its debut as the most powerful car in the run's history. For car enthusiasts, watching the run is a must for their motoring calendar. And here in Staplefields, they've been out since the early morning, cheering along the cars and cyclists who've made it this far. For the women here, this run offers a particular cause to celebrate.
I'm a woman driver of classic cars as well, so it's great for us women to be up and out on the road and enjoying these beautiful classic cars. The fact that people are able and willing and happy to drive them, it's great because it keeps the history of motoring alive.
It's Sarah and her family's turn to pass through next, marvelling at the crowds as they pass. For the drivers here, showcasing these cars is about more than the run itself. It's key to keeping veteran motoring alive in a changing motoring landscape, maintaining its rich history for future generations.
Frankly, if people lose interest, then I'm afraid it's a sad day for us. If people aren't interested in the cars anymore, then I'm not sure that there will be a groundswell of opinion to keep them on the roads.
of Staplefield, Brighton's becoming tantalisingly close. But the biggest challenges of the route are just beginning. The roads are becoming increasingly hilly, and the cars are starting to struggle.
Look who's behind us! Oh my goodness, are they going to try and overtake? I think we're just faster!
As the hardest incline approaches, they're neck and neck. But it's too much for the de Dion, as one of the stewards jumps in to push.
Oh dear.
Sarah's more powerful Panhard is next up the hill.
Now that's some accelerate. Oh dear, oh yeah!
A brief struggle and they're up. The hardest part behind them, the Panhard's in its element, as it picks up speed for the final stretch. Sarah cruises into the outskirts of Brighton, alongside Caroline and the de Dion, as the cars puff and push their way through the final kilometre.
Oh, well done.
This is the moment the cars of the run have all been waiting for. And there, in unison, Sarah, Caroline and Biba, crossing a line first crossed more than 60 years ago by Sarah's parents.
I saw your mother drive the
little Panhard, yes.
When it had solid iron tyres.
Sarah and her daughters once again flying the flag for the women of veteran motoring.
We made it! So exciting and lovely to have all three cars achieve the run. We had a few little issues, as you know, but we all got here together and it was lovely to have us all lined up on the finish line and to point out that it is a dynasty and that we've got 4 generations that have gone down on the Brighton Run. And how exciting is that? And they're all women.
Like their mothers and grandmother, Cara and the boys are ready to add their names to this veteran motoring dynasty.
They're talking about which cars they're going to drive.
Yeah, it's such an amazing opportunity to have. I can't imagine anyone, frankly, if you're told, right, get in a car and drive from London to Brighton, and all the experiences along the way, why you wouldn't go for it.
Theirs is a journey through generations, with plenty of automobile adventures still to come.